Today we got the feature premiere for the gameplay when it comes to MLB The Show 25, and today I'm going to be trying to explain everything the best that I can, just in case there's anything that maybe you don't fully understand or if you didn't watch the feature premiere yourself. We're first going to be talking about the ambush hitting. This is a way that if you're using zone hitting and you have your PCI specifically in an area that you hope that somebody is going to pitch the ball to you, you can obviously ambush them and get a hopefully bigger PCI, or if you manage to not get it in the right spot, you're going to get a smaller PCI. There have been a decent amount of people who have compared this to the guest pitch that has been in MLB The Show of the previous years, but this is a little different in that it is not going to tell you where the pitch is going to go, and it's not going to tell you what the pitch is going to be if you happen to guess all those things. What it's going to do is it's going to allow you to pick one of the sides, left or right, not up or down, of the strike zone. And when you move your PCI into the selected spot, say you choose the right side of the zone, when you move your PCI to the right side of the zone, then your PCI will be bigger. However, if you move your PCI to the left side now, it'll be smaller. That is not telling you specifically where the pitch is going to be. That is just what you have guessed. You could put the ambush hitting on the right side and the pitch can still come in on the left side, up, down, it doesn't matter. Now there's also a graph that they showed where if you do happen to guess correctly and you happen to swing, the difficulty or the size of the PCI will show one difficulty down for that size. So let's say you're playing at an all-star difficulty, your PCI size will represent the veteran difficulty if you happen to guess correctly. Whereas if you're an all-star and the pitch is not in that side, the PCI size for the correct zone would then represent more like a legend difficulty. So it is a high risk and high reward mechanic, but you do not have to use it if you so choose not to. You can just completely ignore it and just play the game as normal. Also, there have been people who have asked about the PCI anchor, and those will return this year. You can set your PCI to anchor in any of the 9 zones that we have already had that are on the top, the bottom, the middle, the left, the right, whatever you want. You can set that. However, they have added something to where you can set it in the menus themselves for different things. If you want your PCI to be in a specific place for a right-handed batter versus a right-handed pitcher, you can set that, and you can set it to be different for a right-handed batter versus a left-handed pitcher, and then for both sides hitting for a left-handed pitcher as well. Next, they went on and talked about the infield reactions. Now, of course, most of this stuff we've already learned about in the video that I did on Tuesday, but they went into a little bit more detail for some of these things as well. So as we know back in the Tuesday video, there are 3 different types of reaction speeds for your infielders. You have your blue, which is the fastest, the green, which is your average, and then the yellow, which is your slowest. However, this year, they also added a red reaction speed for the outfielders, which I think could potentially come to the infielders maybe next year, but they probably just wanted to stick with the 3 for now for the infielders. So for some of these plays, let's say that a blue tier could potentially get to it without any issues. A green tier might need to dive to be able to get to the ball, and then a yellow tier may not be able to even get to the ball in general. That's what this is going to do and make you really think about, do you want the possibility of having a really good hitting player who has absolutely horrible fielding reaction speeds, or do you want somebody who's maybe not as good at hitting but you have that better fielding out there to be able to actually get to the ball and prevent a hit or a run or whatever it may be. These are all things that you're going to have to think about when it comes to doing it, or, I mean, I'm sure there's definitely going to be those people who are just going to sit there and put out the best hitting lineup that they possibly can, and by all means, do it. Next, we learn more about the throw meter, and like we've already said, the throw meter, the blue area is now at the very end, instead of being in the middle of the green zone. So if you do happen to be a little late, it will result in you getting a bad throw. The one difference that they changed when it comes to when they initially added this feature to now is that the blue zone will actually differ depending on your throw accuracy. If you have somebody who has complete 99 accuracy, their blue zone is going to be rather big. Whereas if you have somebody who has only 40 or 50 throw accuracy, their blue zone is going to be very small and very hard to hit. Which I do think is a good thing. You want there to be a discernible difference and not just have everybody, no matter who it is, have the exact same possibility of getting a perfect throw and getting that very crucial out. So I will say good on SDS for this one, and hopefully it will make a bigger difference and it won't really be that minute of a thing. The next thing that they talked about was the Homerun Rob Meter. In previous years, you would see players just having their outfielders run around in circles in the outfield trying to time up when they could actually rob a home run, but in this year, you don't need to do that anymore. When it comes to robbing a home run in MLB The Show 25, it's more going to be about the timing of your jump button and not necessarily about the timing of when your outfielder reaches the warning track and the wall. Of course, if your outfielder never makes it to the warning track or to the wall, they're not going to be able to rob the home run. And also in that same length, if your outfielder has absolutely piss poor fielding, well, they're probably not going to rob it as well. So how it works is your outfielder is going to run to the wall, and when the arrow reaches the green part of the meter, that is when you're going to press your jump button, and depending on how your fielder might be running up to the wall, how fast, how slow, and how good they are at fielding, that will determine the type of animation that you'll get, and then will also determine if you'll be able to actually make the catch as well, so long as it is a ball that you're able to actually catch. But I do think this is a better upgrade to the home run robbing, since maybe it's just me, maybe I'm shit at the game, but I never knew the exact ways to run in to grab the ball or exact timings. So I think this will help out in the long run for people who would like to try to rob home runs. Next, they went over a little bit when it comes to the player lock stuff. I think they're going to be talking a little bit more about this when it comes to the Road to the Show stream that they're going to be doing next week. So I think we'll get a little bit more on some of this stuff, but they did go over I'm assuming a decent amount of it, or even most of it. They did talk about something that they showed off like really early, which is the swim moves, where you're going to have to use your right stick and do a certain motion to be able to try to do one of these swim moves. They did say that they wanted these things to come up naturally, so whether or not it's going to work, or whether or not you're going to be able to kind of manipulate it sometimes to be able to get it a little bit more often, that probably won't be seen until we have it in our hands, but I hope that they do it as they said it, and it will be showing up in times that make sense. They also showed off a little bit of the first-person camera, and that's going to be a little bit interesting for those who really care about doing it. It's not something that you're going to pick before you go into the game, or before you do this, or before you do that. It's something that you're able to do whenever you want. So if you're fielding and for one play you want to have your first-person camera, and then the next play you want to have your normal camera, you can do that. You can have it on as much as you want, or you can have it on never. It is totally up to you, and it is something that you can press a button for right in the middle of a play, right before a play, or whenever you want, and I think that's a really good inclusion. You know, it's something that you can do if you want, and I think when it comes to some of the Road to the Show stuff, I probably will want to do it from time to time. There are also some cutoff scenarios for the first and third baseman where the ball is hit into the outfield, and then the outfielder's throwing it into the home plate, and you being the cutoff man will be able to get the ball and decide very quickly, they said within 3 seconds, of if you want to continue to throw the ball home or change the direction to potentially get somebody at second or third base. This is also something that if you are the catcher, that you can direct your cutoff men to do as well, which I think is a really cool inclusion, giving more options for different types of players instead of it just being the exact same scenarios over and over and over and over and over again, which have been in the series forever. One other one that they mentioned is that if you are a catcher and the ball is thrown into the dirt, you're going to have more or less a quick time event to be able to block the ball. Now, I haven't really used catchers in MLB The Show, Road to the Show stuff, so I don't know if this is something that has always been here or not. So if it is something new, I think that's a cool inclusion, but again, it just comes down to giving us more options and giving us more scenarios to be able to do stuff. Whether or not these specific things that have been mentioned are the only new things, or if there's more that they're going to be talking about when it comes to like the Road to the Show stuff, that is to be seen. But I do hope that there are at least a few things that they haven't shown us just yet. And finally, the last thing that they really went over are the quality of life upgrades that I'm sure we're going to be getting throughout the cycle. Like, these are probably just like the quality of life stuff for the couple things that they talked about today. Maybe we'll get some quality of life stuff for franchise or Diamond Dynasty or Road to the Show or who knows what. But the couple of things that they talked about when it comes to the quality of life is that now online, whenever you're playing against some people, they had mentioned, especially in Battle Royale games, that there's going to be almost always a lot of people who immediately jump into their quick menus to go to their bullpens to warm up the pitchers, and that's going to happen for basically both sides right away. Well, now this year, there are going to be no warm-up pitchers online. Everybody is basically going to be warmed up from the start, and as soon as you want to put them in, you put them in. Now, I do think that this does take out a little bit of strategy and does allow the people who never really did it to get an upgrade, but in the sense of making things a little bit faster, I do appreciate it. Something else that they did, which will hopefully make things go a little bit faster and not as annoying, are that the pause timers are going to be shorter. In the past, it was always 3 minutes, and people could gain a lot of time to add to those 3 minutes. Now it is hard capped at 1 minute and 30 seconds. And the only way that people are going to be able to get that timer back up to 1 minute and 30 seconds is that it's going to add 15 seconds each time that you're on offense, but it will never go above that 1 minute and 30 second timer. Also, something that is very appreciated is that if somebody's controller disconnects, you're no longer going to see the screen of, would you like to forfeit the game because this person lost the controller connection, which has never made any sense for me, but thankfully that's gone. And for those of you who play co-op, they did mention that the 1 minute and 30 second timer are going to be combined and shared throughout your team. So if one person uses it, that is for all of you. They did also briefly mention about the freeze-offs, how they're still working on things and hopefully being able to make it better, but really didn't go much into detail about that. The last thing that they mentioned is the G.O.A.T difficulty. This is going to be for everybody who wants to use it offline and whatever mode they want to use it on, more or less. But for online purposes, the G.O.A.T difficulty will be for those who make it to 1,000 in ranked. It will be for also those people who get to the hardest thing on the weekend league event things. I forgot the name of it. And for specific things in esports as well. They did not go into detail if it'll be in any other part of online. Like, it's probably not going to be in events. It's probably not going to be in Battle Royale. But I do still think there is a possibility that we will see G.O.A.T in Extreme for at least one event, or for a potential showdown or something like that. But they probably don't want to mention anything like that until we get to that point of actually playing MLB The Show 25. But that's everything that has to do with the gameplay stuff in MLB The Show 25 that they have revealed. I will be back here next week on Tuesday to talk about some of the stuff that they'll talk about in Road to the Show. And then I'll be back on Thursday to talk about more of the deeper dive that they do for their feature premiere. And we'll go on from there. And I hope that everything will be good for that. And I hope that everybody will enjoy Road to the Show this year. So with that all being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.